Are you ready?
Hello, and welcome to the Whole House Podcast, where you can find home, health, and family all in one place. Our team is comprised of moms from different upbringings and backgrounds, and we each have different passions and giftings and strengths. We each represent a different room, and we all make up the whole house. So grab a cup of coffee and join our overly caffeinated ladies here for the Whole House Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the Whole House Podcast. Today is Kathleen
and Amerey,
and we're going to do a special podcast on the book 25 Days of Thriving Through Christmas
by Kathleen Dwyer.
Yes, by me. It's an Advent Devotional for adoptive and foster parents, and even if you have a special needs child, this is a great resource for you. And instead of me saying, I wrote this book and it's really great, I'm going to read a review. So, in case you're wondering.
So you know other people think it's great.
The Advent Devotional 25 Days of Thriving Through Christmas provides an insightful, practical, and encouraging resource for parents navigating the Advent season. The book fills a void for adoptive and foster families as to ideas and guidance of not just surviving the Christmas season with children who have come from different backgrounds, experiences, but to thriving during the season with applicable daily scripture readings to practical suggestions. This tool for helping families will become an annual tradition. And that's Kimberly Taylor, who is an adoptive parent. And I have other reviews, and they're actually also on Amazon, and there's some more in the book also. So you can check that out. You can get this book on Amazon, Alibris, Books A Million, any major bookseller. And you can also get the Kindle edition on Amazon. So how does this book work?
Yeah,
well,
tell us how it works.
It's really simple. It's really easy. You don't just read it straight through. So every single day from December 1st through December 26th, there is a daily short reading with a scripture and a practical tip for helping your kids thrive through the holiday season. So I'm just going to read this little, and also every weekend there is a longer portion of the devotional for the parents to read. The first week is on Joseph, then there's a week on the wise men, there's a week on Mary, and there's a week on Jesus. So those are longer devotionals just for the parents, not for the parents to read to the kids, but to read to themselves to gain a deeper understanding of the meaning of adoption. So
hold on. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I took a bite and thought about a question.
Okay.
I'm eating. So, what made you write this book?
Okay. I have an answer for that. Okay. When Jerry and I adopted a sibling group of 4 from Poland, the holidays took on a different bent. Kids from hard places often do not know the meaning of celebration. We have to teach them and be patient while they sit on the sidelines or hide under the table. True story. We parents must gently coax the children from the darkness into the light without overwhelming them at the same time. It's like walking a tightrope with no pole in the middle of a crowded mall during the Christmas season. The slightest noise or smell can set these kids off, and then everything is out of kilter. Some parents decide not to make any traditions or participate in anything because their kids don't want to, or they're just afraid and they get overwhelmed. But years from now, there will be ghosts of Christmas past that will haunt these parents because they didn't step forward and do it. So one of the reasons I wrote this book was because no one told me what was going to happen. Like our first Christmas with our new kids was just overwhelming for them, the sights and the sounds and the people. And often what would happen,
We have a loud family, and
Yes.
we all get together,
and the kids would go hide.
yeah.
There was this one place in our basement where he had a playroom, like kind of under the stairs. They would go down there and just hang out to get away from the noise and the sounds. And here's another misconception, is these kids had never experienced like Christmas in the way that we celebrate it here in the States, because our kids were internationally adopted. So the Christmas tree, the cookie baking days, the parties, the Christmas caroling, the Christmas cantata, all this stuff was all brand new to them. And even if you are fostering a child in the United States and they've come from a difficult background of neglect and abuse, their family may have not done any of those things. In fact, their parents may have gotten drunk on Christmas Day, and it could have been worse and loud, and
Memory,
it would be bad memories. So the kids are triggered for bad, these bad memories come back. So we have to keep that in mind during the Advent season. And so that's the main reason I wrote this book, is because I didn't have someone with me helping me, and I want other adoptive and foster families to thrive through this season, even if that means stepping back from some activities or just gradually easing your way into those. Like, I would never say don't do any Christmas traditions, because I know some people do that. They just say it's too much, I'm not going to do it, my kid doesn't want to do it, they're afraid. Right. But then you don't want those ghosts of Christmas past haunting you years from now.
Right. I think that another important thing to know and to think about, well, you read this book and you might not have thought about it while you were writing it, but is to, like, your kid is going to grow up and most likely get married.
Yes.
And then whether you have celebrated Christmas traditions or not, they...
She can't come up there.
They are, their spouse is going to celebrate things and going to have traditions and all of that. And if you haven't done anything and they've just kind of stayed hidden in those past memories, or not even doing anything and experiencing those things, then they're going to, as an adult, feel overwhelmed and not be able to handle those kind of things.
Right.
We know someone who their family didn't celebrate holidays in those ways.
Right.
And so whenever he is at those kind of events and stuff, he struggles, or he doesn't really know what to do. And so he still kind of feels like he needs to go and hide and be alone during.
Right. And that's hard, because you want celebration to be joyful. You think of the Christmas season as it should be a joyful time. And yes, you might have to change your parameters a little bit for your kids from hard places. Like, if you want them to make Christmas cookies, you have a cookie day at your house. In fact, that's one of the tips, is to have a cookie day. So if you have a cookie day, then you invite the people that you know are going to mesh well with your kids, and you can keep it short. And definitely, one of the things I say about having a cookie day is don't be a perfectionist about it. Don't think that, we have friends that make like 40 bazillion dozen cookies on their cookie days, and they all look beautiful and they look perfect.
Our cookies are lucky if they come out of the oven not broken. And if they get icing on them.
And then you put 5 pounds of icing on them, and the kids will eat them right then and there. And we have the pictures to prove it.
Yes.
We have pictures of Sam and Theo, my grandsons, who they put Reese cups on top of their.
We have never had a good-looking cookie come out of Cookie Day.
Okay, well, they're good-looking to them.
Well, yes. I mean, like,
they're not Pinterest
perfect. But we have always had great memories come out. In fact, a couple Christmases ago, Cecilia, you were just a baby. You were Glenna's age. we went to have cookie day.
Oh my gosh.
Forgot the cookie dough.
Oh yeah, we drove all the way to Maryland
Because we
to
did
Audrey's house.
to
That's
deal
like,
with the grandkids and
yeah, she was hosting cookie day, and I forgot my cookie dough.
yeah.
And Amerey didn't have any cookie dough, and Audrey had to actually run out and buy, like, you know, that instant made, already made cookie dough so that we could do cookies, or else we wouldn't have had any. And it was fun. We had a fun day. It was great. And that, you know, you have to be flexible. You have to, and I think that was God's lesson for that day, is be flexible.
Yes.
And kids need to see us being flexible.
And you know what? The kids getting together, if we wouldn't have, except for the fact that we have children with autism in our family, if we would, so we had to stick to the plan that we made with the
Right.
cookies. But if we wouldn't have had cookies, and then they still would have had a fun time just hanging out with the cousins and everything. And you know what?
Right.
We could have gotten out plates and let them spread icing on the plates and put sprinkles and let them eat it with spoons. We talked about, Audrey and I talked about that one.
Right.
We could have done that.
We could have done that.
But, so, that's just, I guess that's kind of like an excerpt from your...
It is. Well, that's one of the tips, and that's one of the things, you know, kids from hard places are often very inflexible. So on the one hand, you have to definitely stick to a schedule, but then on the other hand, it's good for them to see you being flexible, because if they see you being flexible and not melting down over something, like, in fact, we laughed because I forgot my cookie dough. That was our reaction to it. I mean, I'm laughing about it now still. It's like, really? You forgot? We're having a cookie day and you forgot all the, like, I left all the cookie dough that I made in the refrigerator at home.
Right.
So I'll just share
I'm sorry.
one of the other
My family is
tips.
making a lot of noise.
So just so you know what kind of tips. Tip number 1 is let kids know what is happening next.
Yeah.
Help your kids with their expectations by giving details about what is on the calendar. If the child is used to taking time to eat a leisurely breakfast of waffles and sausage, and you need to get the family out the door for an event, let him know ahead of time. I know one of mine struggled with this the most. He was the most productive and most happy if he had like a really slow morning to eat a really nice cooked breakfast and to have a conversation with me. And this was...
Eventually, it benefited us because he would make breakfast for all of us.
That's right, it did. And he would just like to have a conversation about whatever dream he had or whatever. And then because I homeschooled, that made it a little bit easier if we would take our time then and then slide into the homeschool day. But when the holidays hit and, you know, we are going to this thing at church for practice, or we're doing this, like we were in a Scrooge production 3 years, and it's like, okay, we got to get out the door for this and that.
I will add something to this.
Okay.
Okay, so even though my kids don't come from a hard place, they are, I don't think shy is even the right word sometimes, but I guess I don't know what the right word is, but Seth and I learned early on that we should, when like letting the kid know ahead of time, also came along with if there were going to be new family members that they hadn't seen before,
right,
to show them pictures, talk about what this person was like they might want to give you a hug. They're gonna want to kiss you. They're gonna want to ask you questions. This is what they're like. Their voice is a little bit loud. They're, all those kind of things.
He's going to want to throw you up in the air. And Amerey's right. That's the thing. Even kids from hard places need that.
Kids from hard places need that.
It just doesn't always happen though, because we don't think about that.
Needs.
We need to assume that the kid needs to know all the information ahead of time. So, and that's a good thing to talk those through.
I just saw a squirrel.
And Cecilia just saw a squirrel. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
It was running to Mr. Calloway's
Oh my goodness.
So that is the first tip on December 1st, and then also every day there's a biblical application.
Yeah.
So then there's a little Bible lesson for the parents to read. And so every day is like that. And they're short.
Yes, they're
So
very short.
It's not going to take you hours. It'll probably take you 5 minutes at the most, and that's if you're a slow reader.
Hold it up and blow dry your hair.
That's right. And then for, like I said, on the weekends, and there's a longer devotion that delves a little deeper into each character in the nativity story. Like Joseph is in the first chapter. Like Joseph, for some reason, he is the wallpaper, the backdrop in the story. Like even when we do the nativity plays at our churches, he has less lines than the shepherds.
Right.
Which doesn't even make any sense because he is a major player in Jesus's life. He is
his dad.
Yeah, he's his dad. He's the one who taught him at his knee. He's telling, teaching him. And Joseph legally adopted Jesus.
Right.
And some people question that because they're like, wait, let me check my theology here. Well, he would not be in the genealogy as Joseph is the father of Jesus if that weren't true.
Right.
And that's who's in the genealogy. Joseph is Jesus's father. So, and that, to me, that's a huge, huge statement for adoption. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I would really like to adopt, but I'm not going to because they won't be my real children, well, then you might want to rethink what Jesus says about adoption and how he was adopted by Joseph, and how if you read in Ephesians 1 that we are chosen, he actually picked us out as his own to be adopted as his children. That's before the foundation of the world. Before he put the world together, he chose to adopt us.
Right.
And that's the scripture I always use for anybody who has an argument about, well, I really want to have my own children first.
Right.
When you adopt, they are your own children.
Yeah. So I will say that going into the holiday season and wondering whether you should. Now, this is not like an advertisement, like buy this book. This is just a general statement and why this could help you, because going into the holiday season, for a couple years, my husband and I had holidays with our children that, for certain reasons, were not very great holidays. And we just kind of kept not knowing what to do and not knowing how to handle the situation, or even knowing how to handle it, and to stay kind of sitting back. And so it wasn't until we put effort in, and the holiday season became something that I dreaded.
Yes, I remember your season of just like saying, I don't want to do Christmas.
I know.
Amerey was the Grinch.
I was the Grinch, which is not like Amerey.
No, not at all.
And so I would say that to help your family have a good Christmas and be proactive about your Christmases, and seriously, if you have kids with special needs, if you have kids from a hard place, then this book will be a great encouragement to you, and it will be helpful to you, and because it's full of such great advice about how to help just the smoothness and the joy in the holidays. And it's so easy to get, because all the feelings are in the holidays are so heightened.
Yes.
So even your stress level is heightened, and so do something to help yourself.
Right, and the expectations sometimes over the holidays, especially, I love Hallmark movies, and I love the Christmas movies. That's probably one of the only reasons we got cable last year, so I could watch. But there's also that perfection there. Like everything's perfect, everything's decorated perfectly. You've got all the perfect gifts for all the perfect people. and your house just looks gorgeous, and you have like $300,000 worth of lights on your house, and
a tree that's
a tree that you got that you chopped down, and it's like 30 feet tall, but you chopped it down yourself. You know, all of those things are not real. Those are not realistic. But at the same time, you, like Amerey said, you need to be proactive. And I think even people who have not adopted or fostered, like Amerey was saying, struggle with this proactivity, because on the one hand, when you get married and it's, you know, husband and wife and they're having kids and they're just a young family, you know, there's, this is the way my family always did it, or this is the way my family, or you have to be here, and you have to be there, and you get all these.
Another thing is that you are sitting there and you're used to somebody else taking care of all of the holiday stress for you.
Right. Who's putting up the tree? Who's getting out the lights? Who's doing all that stuff?
So at one point it was like, we're just not doing trees anymore.
Like, yes, we are. And you went and chopped down a tree last year.
We did.
So that is one of the tips, is start a tradition.
Yes.
Make sure the good ground of your home includes an abundance of laughter, parties, celebrations, presents, candles, Christmas trees, gifts, surprises, Rocky Road ice cream, jokes, backyard picnics. That's from Bill Carmichael, 7 Habits of a Healthy Home. So you can choose. Yeah. You can be proactive, and you can choose to start a tradition. Right. It doesn't have to be what your mother did, or your mother-in-law, or your neighbor. It doesn't have to be what anybody does. It can be what you choose to do. Like if you choose, like one year we decided, like our kids, you know, adopted internationally, didn't really know Christmas music. They didn't know Christmas carols. So I bought this giant book of Christmas carols, and we just started singing one of them every night after our Advent reading. Now, I know the neighbors weren't doing that, and I know that most of my friends' kids already knew all the Christmas carols, and they sang them at church. So we started that tradition. I still have that book, and that was a great tradition for us.
Right.
And we did it because we wanted to do it. So dare to parent. Choose a tradition of your own. So, and here's another just little thing just to remember. When you decide to start a new tradition, give the child fair warning. Also, caution, 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 caution. Don't listen to whining and complaining. I cannot tell you how many times a kid would be like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sing that song. But those very same things that they complained about then are now their memories. Those are their...
I always tell my children,
yes,
who's older?
Right.
Who knows more?
Or to quote Monk,
who's in charge? You'll thank me later.
You'll thank me later.
Yes.
Adrian Monk, you'll thank me later. And that is true. And Audrey, she put up a Facebook post, was it last week?
Yeah.
And that was about cleaning the bathrooms, and she was thanking me for teaching her how to clean the bathrooms. So yeah, they'll thank you later.
Yes.
Most kids will. Some kids won't. But they'll still, whenever they get together, when my kids are all together.
In ways that you,
right. They'll just start talking about, remember when we did this? Remember when we took, like the boys would make these mounds of cookies dough and wouldn't even cook all the way through when we put it in the oven, then get it out, made the ice, put icing on it, and just eat it. So, and they remember that.
Good, I was looking at owls in the book. That's why she keeps finding owls in the guidebook. She's being very
Glenn is having her own little owl party. Yeah. Oh, this is a really good one. Tip number 16. Expect meltdowns.
Yes.
Different things are triggers for different people. I get weepy around Christmas. I hear an Amy Grant song. I put up the Christmas tree. I hear a church bell. And I think of my mother. Midnight mass in the choir loft. Pumpkin pie in the oven. Or cooling on the gas range. Christmas dinners with tables end to end all the way across the length of the living room. Great memories. Mom left the earth over 20 years ago, and still a smell, a sound can make it feel as if it were just yesterday. That's the way with triggers. They transport us to another time, another place, and more importantly, another feeling, whatever that feeling was. So we adoptive and foster parents must remember that our children have a past.
Yes.
Some of it is still very fresh in their memory. Some of it is buried deep, and they can't even tell the story. But that trigger still brings up that emotion.
So somebody having a glass of wine at Christmas
Yes.
dinner could trigger something, and your kid just starts throwing a fit at the table, and you don't know why or anything, and you just getting frustrated because they're ruining the happiness of dinner, and you should just be calm. And this is the season more than any season to help your child through those things because of the high emotions, the high stress levels, the heightened senses. Yes. And so, I mean, yes, it triggers. It could be anything. It could be the way a present's wrapped. It could be a greeting.
Just somebody being loud.
Yeah.
It could be somebody being loud, and I'm thinking back
Uncle's starting to tickle you, or
right,
something like that.
Or somebody turning off the lights
Yeah.
because they're turning on the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
You just don't know what is buried so deep in there that will just trigger them. And some of them are more obvious. Like I remember this was at my mother's funeral dinner, and my new kids had only been here actually a week, just a week. No, this was Bud's funeral. Yeah, just a week they had been here, Bud's funeral.
Yeah.
And there was my kids are adopted from Poland, and a Polish priest came in the fellowship hall, and as soon as he found out they were from Poland, he started talking to them. And they immediately,
not a happy thing.
Yeah, they immediately all hid under the table. And they could not calm down. They did not want to be there because
I'm sure they thought he was coming to take them back.
right, the only experience they had in their country was living in an orphanage.
Yes.
They had never experienced their culture. And so we have to remember that, if you've experienced the culture of good traditions and good holidays and, Christmas caroling and Christmas cookies and parties, don't assume that your children have that in their background, because they often don't.
Yeah.
They often have something totally different. To them, Christmas may have been just another day, or a day that they actually didn't get fed.
Right.
You don't know. Or, if they came from a home where there was alcoholism, it could have been yelling and screaming, and maybe they got gifts, but they also got yelled at and screamed at, and it's, that's sad, but that's true.
Right.
Which is one of the other points, which is this is tip number 20. Don't expect your children to understand the true meaning of Christmas.
Yes.
That's a biggie, because we're just like, you need to know that Christmas is Jesus' birthday, and that's what we're celebrating, and we're going to be all spiritual about it. And when your kids are asking for toys and presents, and they just want more sugar, and they want to play video games and watch movies over the holiday break, and we're just like, you need to understand what Christmas is all about. Well, how and why are they going to understand that? It's your job to teach them.
And I would caution you, if you do have foster children or children who come from a culture where Santa Claus is very prevalent, and they have been believing in Santa Claus, and you might be the kind of person who is like, well, Santa Claus isn't real. Just be cautious.
Yes.
Because while explaining that, do it in a kind and loving way, not in a, well, we don't believe that way, because that might send off this trigger, and this other being Glenn is using all of our phones. This trigger of being upset about, or it's not even a trigger, now it's a brand new emotion.
Right. And if you are fostering children and you know that they are not going to stay with you, then I would just kind of avoid that altogether, because you don't want to open a can of worms that you can't shut. But I know that when my kids came home, it was probably the year after they came home, we did like a whole unit on St. Nicholas.
Right.
Because I wanted my kids to understand the true meaning of St. Nicholas and what he represented. And
check it out.
See when you looked up St. Nicholas for us?
So, so the point there is, if you take something away, you need to replace it with something.
Something more rich and more full.
Yeah, you need to replace it with a more rich and full experience.
Well, sorry, Siri. We hope other people do.
So, like we said when I started, you can get the book from any major bookseller, and I'll probably do a discount when this podcast releases. Yeah, we will. And I will we'll definitely do, on the Whole House, we'll do an e-course. I did this last year, and I made some videos to go along with it. So share this podcast with anyone you know who's fostering or adopted or has kids from hard places. Oh, she's trying to get to my watch.
She's trying to get to your watch.
I have Toy Story on my watch, so that's what Glenn is trying to get to.
Apple Watch keeps children entertained.
Yes. There's Buzz Lightyear.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us on The Whole House as we talked about thriving through Christmas. This was just a little taste of all the goodness that you could get in Kathleen's book. And I know it's hard for Kathleen to boast about herself and the writing that she did. But this book is just it's full of meat. It's not like you're eating Christmas candy. It's like you're eating Christmas dinner with all the heavy sides and the turkey and everything. It's just gonna really help you and your family get through the Christmas season. And I just highly encourage you to read it, because it really will just change how you view the Christmas season with your adoptive children and help you through lots of hard things that you might, whether this is your first time with your adoptive kids over the Christmas season, so you might not have expected, or that you've already experienced with your adoptive children and you just don't even know how to handle it. So help yourself out and get the 25 days of thriving through Christmas, because it is completely worth it. So again, thank you for joining us on The Whole House today. I'm Amerey and Kathleen.
And that's why she's the marketing director.
Well, I have a way with words.
So we will
talk to you later, I guess.
All right, I was going to say, see you next week. I always say that. All right.
It's okay.
Bye.
Bye.
We're so glad you could join us here for the Whole House podcast. Please subscribe, and if you give us a review, we might pick our favorite and send you a prize. Please remember to like the Whole House Facebook page and follow us on Instagram at _whole_house. And please sign up with your email on our website, thewholehouse.org, to be notified when new things are happening here at the Whole House. Thanks so much for listening.